You are listening to the What a Word podcast, an interview-style podcast where guests bring their unique experiences and insight on culture, life's challenges, and faith. Each episode is seasoned with words which will inspire and encourage. Now here is your host, Ryan Sharp.
No can be crushing. Those two-letter words can force us to go into a shell or shut us down completely. No can also have the effect of having us be more creative, having us regroup and come back later on with the request. And it is not the final word, especially when it comes to opportunities. I'm hoping if you've been told more no's than yeses, that you will not throw in the towel, that you will find ways to get encouraged and regroup again. I believe that no's can lead to further discovery. And my guest is an example of someone who was told no at a critical point in her service, in her ministry, and now that ministry is celebrating 20 years. Her name is Andrea Hicks, and she's the founder and CEO of Focus Ministries. Focus stands for Fellowship of Christians Unique and Single. This ministry has impacted thousands of individuals and has led to her getting a number of opportunities, both to share her service here in the United States and overseas. Please don't give up on your dreams. That no may lead to further discovery or further opportunities. I'm hoping you'll be encouraged by this. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Andrea Hicks, to the What a Word podcast. Welcome, Andrea, to the What a Word podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor, Ryan. We go way back, and it's an honor to be a part of. Thank you for inviting me.
You're most welcome. How did a Jersey girl end up where you are now?
That is a good question. How did I end up here? You know, it's because of a job. I was working as a medical technologist, working in transfusion service and blood bank in New Jersey. One day, as I was working, I had come up on a serious situation. The OR called and they needed blood for an organ transplant. When I went to release the blood out of the computer, it didn't work. The program on the computer just froze. So the first thing I did was call MIS. When I called MIS, the first thing they told me is, I don't have time for this. I'm in the middle of a meeting. Handle it. Let me give you the 1-800 number. I called the 1-800 number. I was so flustered after they solved my issue. I said, do you know what? Do you have any job openings? And they said, yes, send us your resume. I sent them my resume, and that's all she wrote. So I ended up moving from New Jersey to New York, working in transfusion service, but on the IT side. They were looking for people not with computer experience, but they were looking for people with transfusion service blood bank experience. And I had over 15 years of blood bank experience at that time. So I moved here, barely knew how to use a mouse. So I learned computer software testing. I learned a little bit of programming, and I learned how to beta test software. So that's where I got my experience for this company that made the blood bank software. So while I was there, unfortunately, the company got bought out by another company and things started changing. So I didn't know what to do. So at that time we had monster.com. I went online, I applied for a position. I thought it was Long Island. It was Long Island City.
Wow.
So I ended up going all the way to Queens.
Mhm.
And I ended up at the job I am currently in Long Island City, working for the largest dental company in the world. So now I went from being a blood banker, working a medical laboratory technician, to working as a testing software and running the beta program, to going to my new job. So the job that I had in Long Island City, the job that I transferred to, they were looking for someone with experience. And at that time, I had 4 years experience. They hired me. I worked as a software tester, a QA, quality assurance software tester. From there, I ended up running the beta program. I was the only beta coordinator in the whole company at that time. And then from there, I just got promoted in April to a product manager.
Wow.
So let me roll back my what I want to say. I have an associate's degree. And I have an associate's degree in applied science. I went to school for medical technology. I am a product manager working with people who have masters, PhDs, and it's nothing but the grace of God. Everyone at my company, as far as human resource knows, they know my qualifications. My boss before the one that I have currently, I just talked to him on Friday. He said, we never hired you for your degree. We hired you because what you bring to the table.
Mercy.
And he said, it's because what you bring to the table, that's the reason why you just got this big promotion. My boss that I had before this boss was my boss for 18 years. He want to keep me, but another department saw me in Germany and pulled me over to their area. And that's how I just got promoted. I never asked for promotion, never asked to be moved, and God is just moving. One out of 16,000 employees at this company. And for some reason, they see something in me. It's got to be God. And I just look at my story as amazing, saying that education is important. Make sure you go to school. Make sure that you're able to take care of yourself. But what's most important is that your character, make sure that you show God in everything you do, and God will place you where you need to be.
What a word. Wow. That is a powerful testimony. And speaking of bringing to the table, now just in terms of highlighting what you've just said, when I met you, you were leading a ministry called Focus. And Focus, as my listeners will know, stands for Fellowship of Christians, Unique and Single. And when I learned about singles ministry in my local church, comparing what I experienced locally to what you brought to the table, it was far different, because singles ministries in most local churches is a stop point to marriage. Even in gathering, they will say, listen, our main focus here is to ensure all of us get married. But in going to your ministry workshop on the weekend I went in early 2000, your ministry affirmed the experiences of all types of people, where they were in that present moment. Why did you start Focus Ministries?
Focus Ministries started at Mount Sinai Church in 2001. It was just a local ministry. And we were looking for a name that was different than singles ministry, because it seemed as if, like you said, singles ministry turned people off. People looked at it as a meat market where people were looking to get hooked up. People looked at it, it was all different types of definitions. But the long and the short of it, we're sitting there, and one of the ladies, Kathy Dennis, her name is now, she's married, but she was one of the people who was key. Her and Keisha Godfrey, Michelle Godfrey. We know her as Keisha, but I think her name is Michelle. Her name changes, but anyway, her and Kathy came up. I kept telling people, focus, focus. So they took those words, focus, between her, Kathy, Keisha, and Vidal Ford, who was my co-assistant. The three of them came up with the acronym Fellowship of Christians Unique and Single. And I was like, wow, that's it. So the ministry came about because of a divorce. I come from parents who knew each other from 8 years old, grew up in the church, got married at 21. My parents showed me that marriage works. Most of my family showed me that marriage works. People in my family don't really get divorced. I was the first one to get a divorce in my family. My family was devastated. They're like, we don't get divorced, marriage is forever. But one of the things that happened with me is I did not make the best choice. I had excellent examples in my life, not just my parents, but my uncles, my aunties, but I made a bad choice. So what did I learn from that? Through divorce and through my choices, I realized that I didn't even know singles ministry existed. I just knew that there needed to be a ministry to help people make better choices. Why do they need to make better choices? Better choices help you in every aspect of your life. Because one of the things that I try to press over and over and over is emotional health. Whether you're single or married, emotional health is the key to life, right? The people will say the key to life is your relationship with Christ. You can't have a relationship with Christ if your emotional health is broken, right? If your mind is scrambled, you can't think. You don't see Jesus, you don't see anything. But if you could work on your mind and work on your emotional health through God and through therapy, then you're going to hear God even clearer. So that was the key of starting Focus Ministries is, yes, we need to fellowship, we need to meet people. And yes, people have gotten married in Focus Ministries. You're an example of someone who's married because of information that you received in others, that you were able to make a better choice. But a lot of us didn't make better choices. And if we can help people through ministry, of course, through God, to make better choices, we'll have stronger marriages. And I strongly believe that when we have stronger marriages in our churches are healthier. Yes, single adults are an important part of the church. But when we have marriages, when we have families, when we see emotionally healthy people that are growing and doing that in church, I think, this is my opinion, that it will make the church healthier and the community healthier.
You know, I have to give you your flowers too, Andrea. That prepared me for not only my present, but I learned that marriage involves a lot of pivoting as well. Because while you may come in with your experiences, it requires adjusting and respecting the feelings of others. It was very impactful, and I'm happy that we're here because we're coming up on, and we'll touch more on it later, the 20th anniversary celebration of the ministry, which
I
is
can't believe it.
impactful. But tell me a little bit more about when you were starting Focus Ministries at that time. Was the church receptive to the ministry?
That's a good question. You're going to make me laugh. No. No, I had moved here in 97. This ministry came about in 2001. And the pastor at the time that was there, I wanted to do something with the singles ministry. So I asked if we could have a singles day at the church. He said no. I was shocked. I thought maybe he would go around the bout to say no. It was no, unequivocally no. And I'm like, why? He said, go to Victory Lake. He said, you can go to Victory Lake. I'm like, I'm from Allegheny East Conference. You're asking me to go to Victory Lake. That's like going to a motel. I mean, the sleeping facilities there is not up to the standards of people who would want to come to enjoy that. He says, I don't know what to tell you, but you can't have a singles day. I was so frustrated. In my frustration, I met a gentleman at Kingsborough, and he told me about the Eddy Farm Retreat and Conference Center. He says, you know what, sis? Let's do this together. I'll do my ministry at Kingsborough. You could do your ministry at Mount Sinai. We'll come together and we'll have it at Eddy Farm. Well, I started planning, getting it together, and he fell off the wayside. So then it ended up being me doing it. And it ended up only 5 people from my church came, but guess what? He invited people from Kingsborough, someone else that from Lebanon, someone else from Linden, and guess what? We had 20 people. And from 20 people, over 7,000 plus people have been a part of this ministry since 2001. This is our 20th year. I cannot believe it. And what did I learn from this? I learned the power of no. Just because a door is shut and someone says no, and you're so flustered, look at the big picture. That pastor was giving you a creative spirit to think outside the box. To this day, there's only been one Singles Day at Mount Sinai. Okay? He was, and you know, churches do it all the time. He was showing you, don't have a Singles Day in the church. Go outside and do it somewhere else. He chose Victory Lake, but that was just an example. It took us as a team to come up with a creative spirit, to come up with something different. So there was the birth of Eddie Farm Retreat and Conference Center, a Black-owned facility. We are not only going somewhere where we're going to spend the night and enjoy. It wasn't fancy. It was rustic. It was rural. It was a way to disconnect. No TVs, no radios, no Wi-Fi, no real cell phone towers. You just went there and you were able to disconnect from Friday to Sunday, connect with the people that were there. Some of my best experience happened on that property. And it's just such a blessing.
Did you recognize at the time that you had the gift of administration, or was it developed while doing Focus Ministries?
I'll tell you where it was developed. It was, I guess it was always there because my father is, my father is a leader to the 20th power, but I did not have leadership qualities in my opinion. I'm just a regular girl moving to New York, and New York pulled all of this out of me. And I have to give kudos to the Mount Sinai Seventh-day Adventist Church in Trenton, New Jersey, by helping me to be who I am. But I have to give the number one kudos to the Mount Sinai Seventh-day Adventist Church in Queens Village. They saw something in me I never saw in myself. It started off with singles ministry. That was 2001. And also in 2001, I also ended up being a manager of a group called Men of Israel. I never did a management before. I never managed a group before. All of these leadership skills came out of things that people saw in me and pulled out of. And a lot of it came naturally. And then a lot of it came with watching other people. And a lot of it, the number one part of it came from praying, just asking God for guidance. And it's amazing because pivoting back for a moment, when you asked me about my career, I've been using these leadership skills for 20 years in ministry. I've never had the opportunity to use it at work. It was there, but never had the opportunity. As of April of this year, in this new position, I'm able to use the leadership skills that I learned through ministry at my job. So now I'm getting paid for it. That's amazing. But it all started by learning it through God, and then God allowed me to use it in other aspects of my life.
So at that time, if I could take you back a bit, the local pastor was in essence saying, I'm not having an emphasis day for people who are in this space or in this season. That not only includes singles, but to the larger point, what I learned at the workshop that you facilitated that weekend, it also includes individuals whose marriages didn't work out, who are divorced or separated. So there's a larger issue there. Your ministry helped to affirm individuals who are perhaps being ignored locally.
Exactly. That's the key to the whole thing. The other thing he was also saying is think outside the box. And that's where we've been with Focus Ministries. Don't just look at your local church. This is evangelism. Right. So with this ministry, co-workers of mine have come, family members who don't necessarily go to a church, members of the community that necessarily don't come to church, and people have gotten baptized through this ministry. So thinking outside the box and not having it inside your local church opens it up to others, because you're not talking about coming to hear a sermon. You're coming to talk about a need that someone is going through, someone who's hurt because they were divorced, someone who is hurt because they were involved in a relationship and it broke up. These are people that, someone who may not have ever been hurt, but they just happen to be single and they want to come to the event. So this was something that we tried to meet all of their needs. And one of the things that it comes to my mind every time I see Ryan Sharp, the real estate workshop that you did. At the time, I didn't own a home. You broke it down. When people talk about first-time home buyers, when people talk about purchasing a home, it's a lot of information. Ryan, you took it, you broke it down, simplified it, and you helped singles to be able to be homeowners. One of the persons that I'm sure there were many, but one of the persons I can think of right now who purchased a home right after your workshop, the Dow Ford.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, I still have notes and have information that I received from that workshop that helped me to purchase the home that I'm in today. That came from, guess what? Focus Ministries. Amazing that a singles ministry is teaching you how to be emotionally healthy, how to purchase a house, how to handle your finances, right? How to get therapy, because therapy is not a bad thing. Therapy is something we all need to do to unravel our past. This all came from singles ministry. Amazing. Single adult ministries. It is. And I said, listen, I know the Lord's going to bless me with a husband in his time. In the meantime, I am living my best life. When that time comes, I still want to be in some phase of single adult ministries. This ministry is forever, because you could be married like my mom, 50 plus years, your husband passed away. Guess what? Your status is single again. This thing is such a revolving door. It's always going to exist. So I would always like to be a part of this ministry. Getting married is just going to enhance my life, but I still would like to be a part of the ministry in some form.
Wow. And your work led you to other opportunities. Could you tell us a little about where the Jersey girl who came to Queens, attended Mount Sinai, started Focus Ministry? What other opportunities opened up for you?
So some of the opportunities that opened up for me, as I mentioned, Men of Israel, most of the members, the founder and most of the members were a part of Mount Sinai. And because I have, I'm a person who loves to coordinate. I love to organize. And I saw that these guys could sing, but they don't have any leadership. They need guidance. So instead of talking about them, I'm like, guys, you guys can use some help. Would you like us to help you? So what happened, actually, I think they ended up asking me, but the long and the short of it, together, myself and another lady, Lisa Flynn, we worked with Men of Israel, and through our leadership, we were able to help them to get a CD. They were able to sing with Dr. King when he was the president of Northeastern Conference. Everywhere he went, they sang. So we were able to coordinate all that. Other opportunities that came out, Atlantic Conference, Atlantic Union Adventist Media. I was able to be a part of the media team where I was the floor manager, the production coordinator, and I always loved technology. I always loved production. So it's amazing how God took me from the lab, wearing a shield and gloves and working with blood every day, to being able to work in something I love, which is technology. So now I'm engrossed in technology in my job. I'm engrossed in technology in ministry, and it's amazing. So one of the things I really love is I love working with media, live, especially when it's a live venues. I was able to work with 3ABN. I was able to work with the Hope Channel. I was able to work with, like I said, Atlantic Union Adventist Media, and all this came out of the leadership skills that I was able to develop from Mount Sinai through Focus Ministries. It's amazing. And Toastmasters. That's a huge part. Toastmasters. I ended up being a DTM, which is like the highest level in Toastmasters. That helped me a lot. And my friend Kiva Dennis, she told me about Toastmasters. And I'm like, I already know how to speak. I speak in front of people. Why would I need it? It's way more than that. It teaches you leadership skills to the 20th power. And I am so glad that she talked to me about Toastmasters and I got involved in that. It was amazing. And I even went all the way up to my local chapter. I even was involved all the way up to that level. So Toastmasters is amazing.
So a no began the journey, a solid no.
There you go. And I can't tell you how upset I was about them. Right at that time in my life, I was not on the spiritual level that I am now, and I was quite upset. Sure. And something kept saying, and you know, it's the Holy Spirit. Look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. Yeah.
So someone is getting a no right now. It may not be for a ministry opportunity. The no is coming maybe for a job opportunity. They're being denied the opportunity to purchase a home because of issues with credit or finances. And you have reminded us that it doesn't begin and end there.
Nope, it doesn't. God is in control. Listen, every time these doors are shut all the time, the right door is going to open in God's timing.
Powerful. So Andrea, tell us about what is coming up next weekend. This is a pivotal moment for the ministry. Share with us what is upcoming for Focus Ministries.
Oh, I'm so excited. I cannot believe it's 20 years. As of February this year, this is our 20th year of the reunion of the ministry. And we are having a reunion. Oh my goodness. So the reunion is going to be where we are going to come together and just fellowship. We are inviting people who were a part of the ministry who've gotten married. We also want people who were a part of the ministry throughout the ministry, and even people who are curious about the ministry. What are we going to be doing? We're going to be doing a chat and chew, where we're going to have like lunch and a talk from 2 to 3. And then we are going to do some sessions. And in our sessions, we have Casey Ann Gordon. She's going to be doing our financial wellness. And we have Dr. Shauna K. Denham Wilkes is going to be doing our mental wellness. And our relationship wellness is going to be done by Pastor John Lomacaine and his beautiful wife, Angela Lomacaine. So we are really looking forward to power-packed interactive discussions. We're going to also have a separation for men and women, where we're going to split and the men can talk to Pastor Lomacaine. The women will be able to talk to Angela Lomacaine, and we're going to be able to come back together and talk about what we discussed. And guess what? Pastor Alphonse Sinclair is going to be there, Pastor Ali. Pastor Ali is our spiritual advisor. He's been a part of the ministry from the beginning. And we want to just give him tributes and celebrate him for all that he's done for us. The information that we received 20 years ago, the information that we received throughout the 20 years is still relevant in 2021. That's what's amazing. It's information that is timeless, and it's inspired me and it's helped my life. And I am who I am today because of information that I received from Pastor Ali. Thank God for Pastor Ali.
So this is virtual.
Yes, it will be virtual because we have so many people from so many areas in the United States and abroad. We want to do it virtually because we want to continue to keep people safe. As we all know, people seem to have forgotten that this pandemic exists. This pandemic is real. It still exists. And what we're doing is we are trying our best to be socially responsible and to be able to do this virtually so that we can keep everyone safe and still have a good time. Oh, I didn't forget to tell you, Saturday night, we're going to have a social. It's called Play Night, and we're going to have a lot of interactive games. So just because it's virtual, don't get it twisted. It's going to be a real good time.
Are there ways that individuals can support Focus Ministries? Maybe those who may not be able to attend the virtual, but they want to assist. You're facilitating. This comes with obviously a cost at points. How can people
That
support
is
you?
That is a good question. Right now, they can still register, even if they don't want to be able to come, they can register. And we do have an option where they can donate. You can donate as little as $5 up into whatever amount that you want. And we appreciate it because this ministry we don't have sponsorship. This ministry is being, it's you guys help the ministry to continue, and my little bank account. But anything that we can do to get funds helps us, because in order for us to get great speakers, these speakers are experts in their field. They come with the cost. So it's a blessing when you guys can donate so that we can be able to bless these people with the experience that they're giving us, since they are blessing us. One of the things I didn't mention is, because of Focus Ministries, I, again, like what happened with my job, is Dr. Willie Oliver saw what I was doing with Focus Ministries and asked me to be the single adult ministries leader of the North American division. That was something else in 2007. So I was able to minister from the local church to singles ministries all over North America, Canada, United States, Bermuda, and Guam. I got to travel all over the world with North American Division. And also, we were the first, under the leadership of Dr. Willie Oliver and myself, we were the first Adventist Single Adult Ministries Convention ever. And that happened in 2007. I had just became the leader in April, and this was pulled off in July. Unbelievable. I had a short period of time. With Focus Ministries, I used a year to plan an event. This was in this short amount of time. And we sold out over 700 plus singles. And during that time, my sister, Jennifer, and my brother-in-law, Trevor, they met, they got married, and they've been married 12 years.
Wow.
And they met at that event. And that was in Orlando, Florida. And if I had listened to the NO, none of this wouldn't have happened. So don't let the no's shut you down. Remember that God is in control of your life. Make sure that you listen. I have this thing in my heart that I always got, that God gave me. It's called LHO, listen, hear, obey. When you listen, you hear. When you hear, you obey. God wants us to listen to him. He's guiding us. He's telling us everything. But because we're so engrossed in all these other things, we're not listening. Get rid of the distractions through emotional health and listen to God, and he will help you to get to where he wants you to be.
That is awesome. Andrea Hicks, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the nuggets you've shared. I'm hoping, and I will share in the podcast notes, the flyer for the upcoming event. I'm hoping we can all attend and support. It's impactful. The ministry has blessed so many lives. My children should be thanking you for your ministry. That's how far
Amen.
reaching. That's how far
Amen.
reaching the ministry is. It impacts you individually. It helps you to
Every
function.
generation.
Every generation, man. So thank you so much for your work. And I know this upcoming weekend, while celebratory, will be sobering as well, because we've lost so many individuals
Yes.
during the
Yes.
past 20 as well. I'd like you to give you an opportunity to share about the individuals who impacted the ministry, who are, no longer with us.
Yes. I want to think about, boy, there may be more, but the 5 that I could think of is Christopher Williamson. He was such an integral part of the ministry. He lived in Newburgh, New York. He passed away. Of course, Gwendolyn Florence. She was our co-leader. She helped Pastor Ali with the workshops. She was an integral part of the ministry. Unfortunately, she passed away. And then we have Roy Ashmey. Oh my gosh, what can I say about Roy? Roy Ashmey was a part of our musical experience. He was such an inspiration to all of us. And unfortunately, we lost Roy. And my good friend, oh boy, Orville Hill. Orville came to our single adult ministries events. Orville was a good friend of mine, and he passed away also. And the last person that we just met, oh my gosh,
Elliot Lamore.
Elliot Lamore. Elliot was a part of the ministry from day one. He was one of the people from Kingsborough that came to Eddie Farms with us, and he was there for us during the entire time. He was a part of our music. He was a part of our games. He was a part of our everything. He was a part of, he was on the team. And he was a very, very, very good friend. And he just passed away less than, about a month ago. And it's hard to talk about, but I will say this. Even though these 5 people are no longer here, their spirits will go on forever. They have done so much in Focus Ministries that they will never be forgotten. So my tribute to them would be that I remember you. You will never be forgotten. And thank you for blessing us with your spirit at Focus Ministries.
I'll say including but not limited. Just in the event we are done and a name comes to mind, it was not intentional. Charge it to our heads and not our hearts. But very impactful, my sister. Thank you so much for your service. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen with the ministry going forward. Andrea Hicks, as I mentioned, is the CEO and founder of Focus Ministries, a member of Toastmasters, serves with the Atlantic Union Conference, and serves at her local church, Mount Sinai SDA. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me on the What a Word podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. Most welcome.
Don't let the no's shut you down. Remember that God is in control of your life. Make sure that you listen. I have this thing in my heart that I always got, that God gave me. It's called LHO, listen, hear, obey. When you listen, you hear. When you hear, you obey. God wants us to listen to him. He's guiding us. He's telling us everything. But because we're so engrossed in all these other things, we're not listening. Get rid of the distractions through emotional health and listen to God, and he will help you to get to where he wants you to be.